Hi, this is Shannon from No Shelf Control again. Thanks for joining me on my channel this evening. I wanted to thank those of you who took the opportunity to watch my last video and vote on which Blackathon team you would like me to participate in for your voting. The votes are in and it looks like I will be on team Granny Nanny. So that is exciting. That was team number 2. I think we had 5 or 6 votes and all but 1 was for team 2. So it was practically unanimous and I really appreciate everybody's voting. I will remind you, for Blackathon, the Granny Nanny team is named after Nanny of the Maroons, an infamous leader of the Maroon War. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it in my last video, but the theme of Blackathon this year is warriors. Apparently last year it was travelers, but this year it's warriors. And so for the Granny Nanny team, we're going to be reading Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. And I had talked about that on my previous video. So if you want to know more about Riot Baby, go back and check out the video where I introduced the idea of Blackathon and gave the descriptions of all 3 teams before we voted. So the task at hand is to take the 4 prompts that Bowties and Books provided when the Blackathon challenge was put together and figure out which book I'm going to read for each one of the 4 prompts. Now I've put together a short list for each one of the prompts and I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about those books tonight. And then I'd love it if you would watch this, identify any of the books that you know about or are curious about. If you've read them, I'd love to hear more. And for you to tell me which book you think I should read for each one of the prompt questions. So here's the first prompt for the Granny Nanny team. A charming protagonist who is spiritual or has fantastical abilities. And the first book that I chose as an option is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. It is about 345 pages, published by Grand Central Publishing, and it was made available January 1st of 2000. If you don't know anything about Parable of the Sower, it says, in 2025, with the world descending into madness and anarchy, one woman begins a fateful journey toward a better future. Lauren Olamina and her family live in one of the only safe neighborhoods remaining on the outskirts of Los Angeles. Behind the walls of their defended enclave, Lauren's father, a preacher, and a handful of other citizens try to salvage what remains of a culture that has been destroyed by drugs, disease, war, and chronic water shortages. So that was one of the options that I chose for the spiritual or fantastical abilities prompt. The second book that I chose as a possible option, let me bring it up here, is The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. So The Water Dancer was published in 2019 in September. It's 416 pages and was published by One World. And here's a little bit about that one. Young Hiram Walker was born into bondage. When his mother was sold away, Hiram was robbed of all memory of her, but was gifted with a mysterious power. Years later, when Hiram almost drowns in a river, that same power saves his life. This brush with death births an urgency in Hiram and a daring scheme to escape from the only home he's ever known. So that's a little bit about The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. That's the second option for fantastical abilities or spirituality, a protagonist with one of those. One of the third options that I put together here is Children of Blood and Bone by Tony Adeyemi. Tony Adeyemi, you know how I am with the names. Okay, so Children of Blood and Bone, published in 2018 by Henry Holt Company, and it's 544 pages. So this one's a bit of a clunker, as I like to say. They killed my mother. They took our magic. They tried to bury us. Now we rise. Zelie Adebola remembers when the soil of Orisha hummed with magic. Burners ignited flames, tiders beckoned waves, and Zelie's reaper mother summoned forth souls. But everything changed the night magic disappeared. So that's a little bit about Children of Blood and Bone. Those are the 3 options I have so far for the prompt that says a protagonist that is spiritual or has fantastical abilities. I have a fourth option here, Akata Witch by Nnenna Okorafor. I know that one because I've heard somebody say it before. That's the only reason I can pronounce that one. Akata Witch by Nnenna Okorafor. So Akata Witch was published in 2011 by Viking Children's. So it actually is a YA book, and it's 349 pages. Akata Witch transports the reader to a magical place where nothing is quite as it seems. Born in New York, but living in Aba, Nigeria, 12-year-old Sunny is understandably a little lost. She's albino and thus incredibly sensitive to the sun. All Sunny wants to do is be able to play football and get through another day of school without being bullied. But once she befriends Orlu and Chi-Chi, Sunny is plunged into the world of the leopard people, where your worst defect becomes your greatest asset. So that one sounds very interesting as well. The fifth possible choice for this prompt is Hunger by Roxane Gay, and that is because I consider Roxane Gay to be a complete badass, and her fantastical abilities, in my opinion, are obvious to anyone who's ever heard her speak or read any of her books. So I chose Hunger by Roxane Gay. So this is another option. Hunger was published June 13th of 2017. It's 306 pages, and it's published by HarperCollins. From the New York Times bestselling author of Bad Feminist, a searingly honest memoir of food, weight, self-image, and learning how to feed your hunger while taking care of yourself. I ate and ate and ate in the hopes that if I made myself big, my body would be safe. I buried the girl I was because she ran into all kinds of trouble. I tried to erase every memory of her, but she is still there somewhere. I was trapped in my body, one that I barely recognized or understood, but at least I was safe. So that is the fifth option for the first prompt. And the last option, I know I came up with 6, but I had to do it. The sixth option for the first prompt, in case you want to weigh in on this one, is Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. That one was published in August of 2016. It's 306 pages, and it was published by Doubleday. And here's a little blurb about the Underground Railroad. Cora is a slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia. Life is hell for all the slaves, but especially bad for Cora, an outcast even among her fellow Africans. She is coming into womanhood, where even greater pain awaits. When Caesar, a recent arrival from Virginia, tells her about the Underground Railroad, they decide to take a terrifying risk and escape. Matters do not go as planned. Cora kills a young white boy who tries to capture her. Though they manage to find a station and head north, they are being hunted. In Whitehead's ingenious conception, the Underground Railroad is no mere metaphor. Engineers and conductors operate a secret network of tracks and tunnels beneath the southern soil. All right, so that is the first prompt. I know I gave you 6 choices, but I couldn't narrow it down, so I'm hoping that you'll help me do that. The second prompt for the Granny Nanny team is a protagonist who is mixed race and or an immigrant. And the first book I chose as an option for that one is Lot by Brian Washington. Lot was published in March of 2019. It is 240 pages and published by Riverhead Books. Here's a little bit about that one. Stories of a young man finding his place among family and community in Houston from a powerful, emerging American voice. In the city of Houston, a sprawling, diverse microcosm of America, the son of a Black mother and a Latino father is coming of age. He's working at his family's restaurant, weathering his brother's blows, resenting his older sister's absence, and discovering he likes boys. Okay, so that is the first option for the second prompt, which is a protagonist who is mixed race or immigrant. The second one that I chose as an option for this prompt is Queenie by Candace Carty Williams. And Queenie was published in March of 2019, 330 pages by Orion Publishing. Here's a little bit about that one. Queenie Jenkins is a 25-year-old Jamaican British woman living in London, straddling two cultures and slotting neatly into neither. She works at a national newspaper where she's constantly forced to compare herself to her white middle-class peers. After a messy breakup from her long-term white boyfriend, Queenie seeks comfort in all the wrong places, including several hazardous men who do a good job of occupying brain space and a bad job of affirming self-worth. I'm not going to be able to decide. There are so many great choices. Okay, the next option, the third option for the second prompt is Hold by Michael Doncourt. And this book, Hold, was published July 12th, 2018 by Fourth Estate, and it's 320 pages. Moving between Ghana and London, Hold is an intimate, powerful, coming-of-age novel. It's a story of friendship and family, shame and forgiveness, of learning what we should cling to and when we need to let go. You have to imagine, that's how I told myself. Imagine what? Imagine that you are the kind of girl that can cope with it, even if you are not. Belinda knows how to follow the rules. She has learned the right way to polish water glasses, to wash and fold 100 handkerchiefs, and to keep a tight lid on memories of the village she left behind when she came to Kumasi to be a house girl. Mary is still learning the rules. Okay, so that is Hold by Michael Doncourt. The fourth option for the second prompt is Behold the Dreamers by Mbola Mbui. This is Behold the Dreamers was published June 26, 2017 by Random House, and it's 400 pages. Here's a little bit about Behold the Dreamers. Jende Jonga, a Cameroonian immigrant living in Harlem, has come to the United States to provide a better life for himself, his wife Nnenna, and their 6-year-old son. In the fall of 2007, Jende can hardly believe his luck when he lands a job as a chauffeur for Clark Edwards, a senior executive at Lehman Brothers. Clark demands punctuality, discretion, and loyalty, and Jende is eager to please. Clark's wife, Cindy, even offers Nnenna temporary work at the Edwards' summer home in the Hamptons. With these opportunities, Jende and Nnenna can at last gain a foothold in America and imagine a brighter future. However, the world of great power and privilege conceals troubling secrets, and soon Jende and Nnenna notice cracks in their employers' facades. Okay. And then the fifth option for the second prompt, remember this is someone who is mixed race or an immigrant. That's the second prompt. Number 5 here is called Loving Day by Matt Johnson. And I believe this one is YA. Published May 26, 2015 by Spiegel and Grau, and it's 287 pages. From the author of the critically beloved Pym comes a ruthlessly comic and moving tale of a man discovering a lost daughter, confronting an elusive ghost, and stumbling onto the possibility of utopia. In the ghetto, there is a mansion, and it is my father's house. Warren Duffy has returned to America for all the worst reasons. His marriage to a beautiful Welsh woman has come apart. His comics shop in Cardiff has failed, and his Irish-American father has died, bequeathing to Warren his last possession, a roofless, half-renovated mansion in the heart of Black Philadelphia. Okay. I'm excited about that one too. One more for the second prompt. It's called The Private Joys of Nnenna Maloney. And this one is by Okechukwu Nzelu. I'll try it again. Okechukwu Nzelu. Published 2019 by Dialogue Books, and it's 320 pages. All right, about The Private Joys of Nnenna Maloney. The Private Joys of Nnenna Maloney is a comic novel about Nnenna, a half-Nigerian teenager living in modern-day Manchester with her mother, Joni. As Nnenna approaches womanhood, she starts trying to connect with her Igbo Nigerian culture. Her once close and tender relationship with her mother becomes strained as she asks probing questions about her father, who she's never met, and whom her mother refuses to discuss. Okay, I think that is all. No, there's one more. One more for the second prompt. Let's make sure there aren't two more. There are two more. I really liked this second prompt. Sorry about that. All right, so the seventh option for the second prompt is Boy, Snow, Bird by Helen Oyeyemi. Published March the 6th by 2014, in 2014, March the 6th in 2014 by Riverhead Books, and it's 308 pages. And this one is called Boy, Snow, Bird. Boy Novak turns 20 and decides to try for a brand new life. Flax Hill, Massachusetts isn't exactly a welcoming town, but it does have the virtue of being the last stop on the bus route she took from New York. Flax Hill is also the hometown of Arturo Whitman, craftsman, widower, and father of Snow. Snow is mild-mannered, radiant, and deeply cherished, exactly the sort of little girl Boy never was, and Boy is utterly beguiled by her. If Snow displays a certain inscrutability at times, that's simply a characteristic she shares with her father, harmless until Boy gives birth to Snow's sister, Bird. When Bird is born, Boy is forced to reevaluate the image Arturo's family have presented to her, and Boy, Snow, and Bird are broken apart. Very interesting. And my last possible choice for prompt 2, I promise, is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. Black Flamingo was published August 8th, 2019 by Hodder Children's Books, and it is 360 pages. A boy comes to terms with his identity as a mixed-race gay teen. Then, at university, he finds his wings as a drag artist, the Black Flamingo. A bold story about the power of embracing your uniqueness. Sometimes we need to take charge, to stand up wearing pink feathers, to show ourselves to the world in bold color. I couldn't go wrong with any of those, so please weigh in. Let me know if you know any of those for the second prompt. Let me know what you think, which one you think I should read. I'm going to have such a hard time. The third prompt is a book set in Jamaica or on an island. And the first one I've picked is sort of classic island Jamaica. It is the story of Bob Marley. It features Bob Marley, and it's called A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. Published in October of 2014 by Riverhead Books, 688 pages. So this is definitely a big chunker. Here's what it says. On December 3rd, 1976, just before the Jamaican general election and 2 days before Bob Marley was to play the Smile Jamaica concert, gunmen stormed his house, machine guns blazing. The attack nearly killed the reggae superstar, his wife, and his manager, and injured several others. Marley would go on to perform at the free concert on December 5th, but he left the country the next day, not to return for 2 years. Deftly spanning decades and continents and peopled with a wide range of characters, assassins, journalists, drug dealers, and even ghosts, A Brief History of 7 Killings is the fictional exploration of that dangerous and unstable time and its bloody aftermath, from the streets and slums of Kingston in the 70s to the crack wars in 80s New York to a radically altered Jamaica in the 90s. Okay, so that's the first choice for the prompt about a book set on an island or in Jamaica. The second option for that prompt is The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abby Dare. And that one is published in February 2020 by Dutton Books, and it's 371 pages. Here's a little bit about The Girl with the Louding Voice. The unforgettable, inspiring story of a teenage girl growing up in a rural Nigerian village who longs to get an education so that she can find her louding voice and speak up for herself. The Girl with the Louding Voice is a simultaneously heartbreaking and triumphant tale about the power of fighting for your dreams. Despite the seemingly insurmountable obstacles in her path, Aduni never loses sight of her goal of escaping the life of poverty she was born into so that she can build the future she chooses for herself and help other girls like her to do the same. Okay, another good choice. The third possible option for the third prompt about Jamaica or an island is called Everything Inside by Edwidge Danticat. This one was published in August of 2019 by Knopf Publishing Group, and it's 224 pages. Okay, unfortunately, this is written in French. Okay, so I don't have a blurb for this one because I don't read French. I'm gonna have to look up another blurb for this one and read it to you. Well, you have to admit that was pretty funny. I'm leaving that little bit in just because it really tickled me. Imagine looking down at your script that you so carefully prepared and realizing that part of it is in French. So the blurb for Everything Inside by Edwidge Danticat says, a romance unexpectedly sparks between two wounded friends. A marriage ends for what seems like noble reasons, but with irreparable consequences. A young woman holds on to an impossible dream, even as she fights for her survival. Two lovers reunite after unimaginable tragedy, both for their country and in their lives. A baby's christening brings 3 generations of a family to a precarious dance between old and new, and a man falls to his death in slow motion, reliving the defining moments of the life he is about to lose. So that is Everything Inside by Edwidge Danticat, and that is the blurb for it in English. Okay, so the fourth option for the third prompt, which is a book set on an island or in Jamaica, is Remembered by Yvonne Battle Felton. And it was published February of 2020 by Blackstone Publishing, and it's 265 pages. It says, it is 1910 and Philadelphia is burning. The last place Spring wants to be is in the rundown colored section of a hospital surrounded by the groans of sick people and the ghost of her dead sister. But as her son Edward lays dying, she has no other choice. There are whispers that Edward drove a streetcar into a shop window. Some people think it was an accident. Others claim that it was his fault. The police are certain that he was part of a darker agenda. Is he guilty? Can they find out the truth? All Spring knows is that time is running out. So that is Remembered by Yvonne Battle Felton. Okay, so the fifth option for the third prompt is Small Island by Andrea Levy. It was published in April of 2005 by Picador, and it's 441 pages. It says, Hortense Joseph arrives in London from Jamaica in 1948 with her life in her suitcase, her heart broken, her resolve intact. Her husband, Gilbert Joseph, returns from the war expecting to be received as a hero, but finds his status as a black man in Britain to be second class. His white landlady, Queenie, raised as a farmer's daughter, befriends Gilbert and later Hortense with innocence and courage until the unexpected arrival of her husband, Bernard, who returns from combat with issues of his own to resolve. Told in these 4 voices, Small Island is a courageous novel of tender emotion and sparkling wit, of crossings taken and passages lost, of shattering compassion and of reckless optimism in the face of insurmountable barriers. In short, an encapsulation of the immigrant's life. Okay, all right. So those are the 5 options that I chose for prompt 3. And now we are on to prompt 4, which is a book centering a tight-knit group of friends or unlikely allies. And the first one I chose as an option here is It's Not All Downhill From Here by Terry McMillan. You may remember Terry McMillan from Stella Got Her Groove Back, a few other books that you might recall. Those are the ones that I remember. But this is It's Not All Downhill From Here, and it was published March of 2020 by Ballantine Books, and it's 355 pages. It says, after a sudden change of plans, a remarkable woman and her loyal group of friends try to figure out what she's going to do with the rest of her life. Laretha Curry's life is full. On the eve of her 68th birthday, she has a booming beauty supply empire, a gaggle of lifelong friends, and a husband who's still got moves that surprise. True, she's carrying a few more pounds than she should be, but she's not one of those women who thinks her best days are behind her, and she's determined to prove her mother, her twin sister, and everyone else with that outdated view of aging wrong. It's not all downhill from here. So that is Terry McMillan. It's not all downhill from here. That's the first option for the third prompt about friends or a close-knit group of allies. Close-knit group of friends or unlikely allies. So I actually have two Jesmyn Ward books coming up. The first is Sing, Unburied, Sing. I couldn't decide between them, and they both meet the requirements for the prompt, so I put them both in here, and I will let you decide. Sing, Unburied, Sing by Jesmyn Ward. Ward gives us an epochal story, a journey through Mississippi's past and present that is both an intimate portrait of a family and an epic tale of hope and struggle. Ward is a major American writer, multiply awarded and universally lauded, and in Sing, Unburied, Sing, she is at the height of her powers. Jojo and his toddler sister Kayla live with their grandparents, Mam and Pop, and the occasional presence of their drug-addicted mother, Leonie, on a farm on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. Leonie is simultaneously tormented and comforted by visions of her dead brother, which only come to her when she's high. Mam is dying of cancer, and quiet, steady Pop tries to run the household and teach Jojo how to be a man. When the white father of Leonie's children is released from prison, she packs her kids and a friend into her car and sets out across the state for Parchman Farm. Okay, so that is the first Jesmyn Ward book, Sing, Unburied, Sing. The other one was actually referenced there, and it is next. It is Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward. This one was published in 2011 by Bloomsbury, and it's 261 pages. Salvage the Bones. It says, a hurricane is building over the Gulf of Mexico, threatening the coastal town of Bois Sauvage, Mississippi, and Esh's father is growing concerned. A hard drinker, largely absent, he doesn't show concern for much else. Esh and her 3 brothers are stocking food, but there isn't much to save. Lately, Esh can't keep down what food she gets. She's 14 and pregnant. Her brother Skeeta is sneaking scraps for his prized pit bull's new litter, dying one by one in the dirt, while brothers Randall and Junior try to stake their claim in a family long on child's play and short on parenting. As the 12 days that comprise the novel's framework yield to the final day and Hurricane Katrina, the unforgettable family at the novel's heart, motherless children sacrificing for each other as they can, protecting and nurturing where love is scarce, pulls itself up to struggle for another day. That's the second Jesmyn Ward book, and the third option for the fourth prompt. Now, the fourth option for the fourth prompt is actually The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. That one is published in July of 2019 by Doubleday, and it's 213 pages. Author of The Underground Railroad, Colson Whitehead brilliantly dramatizes another strand of American history through the story of 2 boys sentenced to a hellish reform school in 1960s Florida. Elwood Curtis has taken the words of Dr. Martin Luther King to heart. He is as good as anyone. Abandoned by his parents, brought up by his loving, strict, and clear-sighted grandmother, Elwood is about to enroll in the local black college. But given the time and the place, one innocent mistake is enough to destroy his future, and so Elwood arrives at the Nickel Academy, which claims to provide physical, intellectual, and moral training, which will equip its inmates to become honorable and honest men. In reality, the Nickel Academy is a chamber of horrors, where physical, emotional, and sexual abuse is rife, where corrupt officials and tradesmen do a brisk trade in supplies intended for the school, and where any boy who resists is likely to disappear out back. So that is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. So the very last option that I have for you this evening, option number 5 for prompt number 4, which is about close-knit friends and unlikely allies, is The Mothers by Britt Bennett. This one is published in October of 2016 by Riverhead Books, and it is 288 pages. Set within a contemporary Black community in Southern California, Britt Bennett's mesmerizing first novel is an emotionally perceptive story about community, love, and ambition. It begins with a secret. All good secrets have a taste before you tell them, and if we'd taken a moment to swish this one around in our mouths, we might have noticed the sourness of an unripe secret, plucked too soon, stolen, and passed around before its season. It is the last season of high school life for Nadia Turner, a rebellious, grief-stricken 17-year-old beauty. Mourning her own mother's recent suicide, she takes up with the local pastor's son. Luke Shepard is 21, a former football star whose injury has reduced him to waiting tables at a diner. They are young. It's not serious. But the pregnancy that results from this teen romance and the subsequent cover-up will have an impact that goes far beyond their youth. So those are the books that I have chosen as possibilities for Blackathon for each of the 4 prompts. I know there were a lot of them. I could not whittle it down. So I'm hoping that you will watch the video, listen and see if there are books that you know about, or if any of the blurbs sounded particularly delightful to you and you would recommend them for me. But I would love to have your help in choosing the books that I will read in the month of February for Blackathon. I appreciate you sticking with me for this slightly longer video this evening with all of these options, but man, there were some great books in there. So even if you don't recommend them for me, perhaps you will take some recommendations yourself. I'm coming back tomorrow night with a video where, because one of the other things that happened as I did this and looked for books to meet the prompts was I thought, oh, what about that book I read? Oh, what about that book I read? So there are a bunch of books that I loved that meet these prompts, but I've already read them. So I want to recommend them for you. So I will be back tomorrow with another video recommending books that meet the prompts that I've already read that would be perfect for you. So thanks for listening tonight, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you for watching No Shelf Control with Shannon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Take it off the shelf.